Welcome everybody to Bobby Talks, ... Those dots are there for a reason to tell you that there's always more to the story. Today's story is that of an American dream. Ladies and gentlemen, sitting across from me today is Calvin Sullins. He's definitely in search of that American dream right now. Calvin, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. A lot of people might not know why I bring people on, and the last time I was trying to search for subscribers. I was basically pleading my case to try to get people to watch the show, and I think we get very good turnout when it comes to viewers, but subscribers, it's like, I don't want notifications, people don't want to be bothered, I get it, but I try to bring on interesting people doing interesting things, and you fit and check off every single one of those boxes to me. I just, I love what you do. I love what you're chasing and you're searching for. Before we actually tell America or tell our audience what it is you're doing, you came in from Sullins today.
I did, yeah.
And that's what, like a 40-minute drive?
Probably 30.
Okay.
Yeah, not too bad.
Okay. So Calvin is currently going to be taking his last year of eligibility at Siena Heights. Are you studying anything, or do you just get to be an athlete this year?
Yeah, so I left Siena Heights in 2014 with about 28 credits left.
Okay.
And so I'll be going full-time in the fall, all online, and then I'm going to go, I'll have just a few credits in the springtime to finish up and graduate. But yeah, I was granted my eligibility back, and I took like a 6-year hiatus.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just good to be back and training and even through all these weird circumstances. But, you know, hopefully things will get a little more normal once I start competing.
Sure. I think, so for those of you that don't know, Calvin is currently help me out with this. You are a decathlon runner? Or a decathlon participant?
I guess decathlete would be the...
Decathlete? Okay, there's a term for it? Okay.
Yeah, decathlete.
Calvin is trying to pursue making the Olympic team for the Tokyo 2021 Olympic games that are going to be taking place in Tokyo next year. They were supposed to happen this year. So my question to you is, since they were supposed to happen this year, is this kind of like a blessing in disguise for you that you had one more year of getting ready, one more year of qualifying for these things? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, it definitely has been a big blessing. I know a lot of people were ready for 2020, and
sure,
it was, more of a curse for them. But for me, it just gave me more time coming off of a long hiatus.
Yep.
I took about 2 years off from competing competitively, and so this extra year has been great for me. It gave me an opportunity to get a season of eligibility that I hadn't really planned on doing.
Yeah.
I was just going to finish up, graduate, and do my training and kind of be incognito. So for me, it worked out really great. I got my eligibility. I get more time to train, get in better shape, and so it's been really awesome for me, and things kind of just been compounding, getting better and better. So
who helped you realize that you still had that year left and that you should pursue competing with that last year of eligibility?
It really was just having so much time during that little quarantine. I was struggling to find work. I just got my substitute teaching permit.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
You'll find work in that, I promise you, as long as schools are open.
Yeah, and it just literally the day after I got my permit, they canceled school.
Oh, no.
I was I had all this time I was looking for jobs and applying everywhere, and it was probably a month and a half where I wasn't doing anything.
Okay.
And just got to thinking, I was what's to lose? I might as well try and see if I can get my eligibility. So I was in correspondence with the NEI for probably 2 months, and then started landscaping, did some landscaping for a couple months.
I know that, yep.
And once we figured it all out, it was everything started to just make sense, and it was just a good time for me to get a lot of things done. And I got to do a lot of people were hosting online lectures and seminars for
Sure.
track. So really, I'm using this year as a way to kind of just work on my future career as a coach. So,
okay.
I'm not going to have a coach this year. I told my old coach, focus on the younger athletes. I'm an old man now. I wouldn't expect you to spend your time on me. So I'm using this year as a way to experiment on myself.
Okay.
So that when I'm coaching athletes, I don't got to experiment on them.
Yeah.
As little as possible.
Trial and error. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
So let's get kind of a timeline here. Let's get a frame of who you are before I ask the important questions. You went to Sand Creek and graduated there. Did you spend all 4 years of your high school career there, or did you transfer over?
Yep, I started going to Sand Creek in 4th grade.
Okay.
I think was it 4th? Yeah, it was 4th grade. And then
Obviously, you were a track athlete.
Yep.
What were your events? You get 4 at Sand Creek. So what were they?
Yeah, I didn't have much say in my events, just because I was such a good hurdler, and
Yeah.
that's what I started off doing. And in junior high, you have 3 events.
Yeah.
You know, so you basically a field event and two hurdle races.
Okay.
So in high school, the only thing I did was hurdles and high jump.
You only did those 2?
I would do 4x4s, but I
Wasn't your focus?
Yeah, I was forced to do a 4x4. I did not want to.
You weren't in the hog relay, were you?
No, I wasn't in the hog relay. I think I ran one 4x1.
Okay.
Ayers let me do it, and I did long jump one time.
See, I feel like you're somebody that would have the 4x1 down. Like you had that drive, you had that frame.
I think that was like the fastest time we had it the whole year.
Really? And he didn't.
It didn't put me in it. I don't know. We probably didn't have a chance to do anything anyways, but
yeah, no.
But we neither did we in the 4x4. So I don't know.
I'm not gonna even touch that.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like I'm not bitter about that. Like
sure,
I gotta hone. The only thing I really cared about was hurdles. Really,
right?
I didn't even know what the decathlon was in high school.
So would you say that you were? I mean, obviously you as an individual are a competitive person, but were you competitive? I mean, were you taking home first every time? Like, where were you at? I mean, we're talking to somebody that's striving to make the Olympic team. Competing against the world's best of the best. Like, where were you at? Where'd you fall when you were in high school?
In high school, it was, it's weird because, you go to Sand Creek and you don't really know what the competitive landscape is.
Sure.
And without, we weren't in the internet age, I barely knew what YouTube was, But for me, being such a competitor, I was in those booklets that you get at the state meet. And I had an eye on every single person that did the hurdles. And, I knew people, probably just in June, I went out to a track at Ann Arbor Pioneer.
Okay.
And a kid was working out. I struck up a conversation with him. I was like, "Oh, what's your name?" And he's like, "Michael Parker." I was like, "Oh, Michigan Center, 2008, right?"
Really?
State champ. He's like, "Yeah, how'd you know?" I was like, "Oh, I know everybody in that era."
Really? So
yeah, I just I was always on top of that.
So when you talked about the YouTube era, you're saying that you'll actually look up these people now, their highlight videos, to kind of find out who your competition is?
Yeah, if someone has a decathlon vlog, I'm subscribed to it.
Really?
The decathlon community is a lot more tight knit and it's more friendly than anything.
Okay.
And the competition is within yourself. It's a inner battle between yourself. But in other events in track and field, it's much more competitive. It's much more cutthroat. So as a hurdler, it just if you watch sprint races in the Olympics and stuff like that, it's those guys aren't friends. At the end of the race, the winner's friends with everyone.
Yeah, he's happy, but nobody wants to go. Yeah.
Nobody's looking happy. At the end of a decathlon, once you're done puking and crying,
right,
you're all friends.
But that's kind of the thing, right? You guys experienced this journey together, yes, and you've survived it together. There is some type of community there. What are the 10 events that take place in a decathlon?
So the decathlon is 2 days. You do 5 events each day. You start off with the 100-meter dash. You have the long jump, shot put, high jump 400. And then you wake up day 2, you got the 110 hurdles, discus, pole vault, javelin, and then cap it off with a metric mile or the 1,500 meters. So.
Okay, so if you're somebody that has to be, when you qualify for these events or the decathlon, you have to literally be at a qualifying level in every event, or do you just have to make it in so many to actually qualify? How does it work?
So the decathlon has a scoring table, and everything is scored out to the 100th of the second and the millimeter.
Okay.
Or centimeter. And so so if you run the 100-meter dash in 10.9 seconds, let's say that's 800 points. If you run that in 10.91 seconds, it might be 907 points.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
So it's a scoring type of thing. You got to reach a certain score in order to qualify for the.
It's a cumulative.
Okay.
And then in the decathlon event itself, the way they get for the Olympic trials is it's a number, it's a field. So it's usually either 16 or 18 men that get accepted.
Oh, really?
So it's not a number per se, but usually there's a typical number around that you have to score to get in. That you kind of roughly know.
So there's only 18 men that will get accepted in the world.
In the U.S.
In the U.S. Okay, so there's going to be 18 U.S. competitors, and that's the number for every country?
That's the number for the Olympic trials.
Okay.
To the Olympics, only 3 can go.
Oh, man.
And not only that, only 3 can go that hit the Olympic standard. So there's also a standard that the Olympics makes.
So even if you were to be the best of the best within your country, if you still don't meet the Olympic standard, you wouldn't
Right.
get an invitation.
And of course, in the Olympics, there's always countries that are allowed representation. So
Sure.
even if you don't hit that score, say you're the best decathlete and there's no other decathletes or
Okay.
no other track people,
Yeah.
you might get to represent Algeria or
Jamaica with the bobsled team.
Right.
Okay.
Same thing. So, but obviously in the U.S., it's not typically an issue. But
Okay.
if you get, so in 2012, a guy got third place, a guy that I know, Gray Horn, he got third place and, wasn't able to go to the Olympics
Because he didn't meet the
he was
standard.
just shy of the standard.
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't realize that. Man,
So it's,
can you imagine you being one of the best in your community and still not making it to the?
Yeah. Here's a great story that happened. My coach in Missouri, Kip Janvrin, he was, in 1996, he was just primed. He was 31.
Okay.
He was just like training his whole life for this. He was multiple national champion, like always making U.S. teams, gets to the 96 Olympic trials, and he's ready to go. Has the best meet of his life, scores 8,400 points, and gets fourth place. Has the highest score to ever not make an Olympic team. The standard then probably was like 8,000 points to make the Olympics. So he's like 400 points over the standard.
Is that the standard now?
Now it's, I think, 8,300.
Okay.
It changes, it grows and changes. So, and he still has the record for the highest score to never make an Olympic team.
Really?
And, so.
I know that's disappointing in its own right, but at the same time, there's something to be proud of there, right?
He ended up with a great story.
Yeah.
And ended up at 35 being the oldest man to make an Olympics.
Right.
So he can look back and,
Oh, he redeemed himself.
He redeemed himself.
That's
which
an
is
even
great.
better story.
And much better ending to the story. But like at the time, imagine being 31.
No,
And that's pretty much it.
You would feel that way. Only like Michael Phelps does he have a comeback story like that. Man, that's interesting. So let's go back to the timeline then. You graduate from Sand Creek, you go directly into college?
Yep, I went to Saginaw Valley.
What year did you graduate from Sand Creek?
09.
09, okay.
Yep.
I just graduated from Bowling Green State then, so we're about 4 years apart.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, I remember watching you and obviously played with my brothers.
Yep.
Basketball and football and stuff. So
I was more of the sprinter. If I had to do anything longer than a 200, I was throwing up. So I can't even imagine being a decathlete.
And me as a competitor, I didn't even care about what sprinters were doing. Sure. I had my eyes on Jared Peebles, Brandon Smith, and John Peebles.
Makes sense.
Around your era, that's who I was watching.
Yeah, because especially John with the shot put.
Yeah,
that was his thing.
And just wrecking hurdles right after. I remember watching him hurdle.
And he had a football build. He was like a linebacker. He did play football, but still, he was fairly. I don't know who holds the record in shot put at Sand Creek.
He held it. I think. Did he have it?
He had it for a while. I don't know if it's still there.
Well, if he didn't have it.
We're talking 16 years now.
I think he did break it. I think he did break it. And then actually a kid in my class broke it, Brad Smith.
Oh, wow.
So my class had a bunch of records.
Brad Smith was built like a brick shit house too.
Yeah, he was big too. Yeah, he played for Adrian. And he's a big boy. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he had it though.
Okay.
But if not, he was very close.
So you graduate from there. You go. Where did you go to attend college?
So my freshman year, I went to Saginaw Valley.
Okay.
Just as a hurdler. That's it.
That's it. At this point, are you even thinking of a decathlon?
I had heard about it. Tim Bauer at Siena Heights, who was recruiting me, he had mentioned it, and I was just like, okay, in my head, I'm like, well, I don't ride a bike or swim. I can't do a decathlon. What do you mean? Because I heard athlon, and I think a lot of people think it's just triathlon.
Yeah, you think of the biking, swimming, running portion of it. Yeah.
And so in my head, I'm like, I'm not an aerobic athlete. Like, I'm a sprinter. Like. I'm a hurdler, that's not so.
When you said that to Tim, did you say that to Tim Bowers?
No, I didn't even want to go to Siena Heights. I was like, I want to get out of here.
You were ready to move, yeah.
Yeah, I was ready to get out of Adrian. My whole mindset was like, if I would have got an offer to somewhere in California, I would have went there,
Sure.
So in my head, I thought Saginaw was big, I'm like, ooh, D2. I got a little scholarship.
Yeah.
Like $500.
Saginaw is big compared to somebody coming from Sand Creek world. How many kids were in your graduating class?
Man, I think maybe 60.
That's exactly. I think we were between 60 and 70. So when you think of that, you can either go to a community college or you can go to Saginaw, which is, massive compared to a small school.
Yeah,
so
to me, it was like a whole different world.
Yeah.
I had never seen anything like that,
How long were you there for then?
Just 1 year.
Okay.
Yeah. I was doing a lot of partying.
As you do.
Yep, as you do. And I was not going to classes.
Yep.
And I did just enough to be eligible for indoor and outdoor track.
Okay.
But when I left in that summer, talking to my coach, he was just like, you're not going to have enough credits to come back. So I ended up taking a whole year off after that.
Okay, so you went to college for 1 year, and then you met with this adversity about your next year, so you took the year off.
Yeah, I thought about going to Mount Sac in California,
okay,
community college.
So California was a dream.
Yeah,
it was
definitely
a goal of yours, and I know you eventually got there. But right now, so it sounds like you were more interested in locations versus what you were doing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought, if you're in California, you can train all year.
Sure.
You got the beach, you got the sunshine,
yep,
you got the palm trees, and that was like...
Best place to be poor ever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be poor and struggling, like, why not be in California?
Totally understand, man. I was there for 5-6 months as a poor person. So, yep, continue.
Yep. So,
so you take a year off. Where are we at then? Now we're what? We're 20?
19.
19?
Yep, 19. I lived in Angola with my brothers for that summer.
Yep, at Trine.
At Trine. So I lived, and I thought about going to Trine.
Yep.
Okay, maybe I could play football with them.
Sure.
That'd be cool. Maybe I'm on the track team too. But ended up just like not doing anything, moving back to Lansing with my mom. And I did MMA for a year. So
this is why I'm so interested in you, because if I don't really recall, you would have been what, 7th, 8th grade. So we were never really, and the Pickfords and I obviously we were friends, but they were a couple years younger than me. I was on my way out really. So you and I's paths really never crossed.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until just conversations with your brothers or just kind of, social media following where I kind of was like watching you from afar. You probably don't even know these, but like anytime anybody in our area does something interesting, and I think somebody in our area doing MMA is very interesting, especially having success. Yeah. And then when I hear about this, and then I think I run into you at a party one time. Do you remember this?
When I wrestled somebody?
You wrestled multiple people.
Yeah. I think it was, whose house was that?
It was at Anthony Cremines' house.
Okay,
and we were there. You brought a couple of your buddies.
Yep.
And I was told about Kelvin Sullins, doing MMA. And my brothers growing up, so I have a younger brother and an older brother.
Yep.
And my older brother is probably 6'3".
What's his name?
Justin Gifford.
Yep.
You know him?
I've heard of him, yeah.
Okay, so he's about 7 years older than me. He's 220 pounds, 240 probably on his worst day. But anyways, bigger than me. I'm 5'8", I'm carrying 175. So it's funny, I always wrestled around with him. My younger brother is 6'3.5", 6'4". He's a little bit bigger than him, and I've always grown up wrestling them.
Yeah.
So I remember at this, I might have been a little cocky. I don't think I was annoying about it, but I was like, I want to muscle up against you. I want to see what this MMA guy is all about. So we just wrestled. We didn't really. Yeah. Do you remember this at all?
I do. Yeah, I remember. I know I wrestled multiple people. And
you did.
It was very friendly. It was very
too friendly. You want to know how friendly it got? Do you remember us stripping down to our boxers?
Our underwear? Yeah. Yeah, I do remember that night. That was fun.
So
I brought my Siena friends over as well.
You did. Yep. Yeah, and people are kind of gathering around as men do. We're being bullish, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna, try to figure out how to take this kid down, and. We start off, I think maybe I get 10, 15 seconds of pretty decent defense. And then you leave your feet, you grab my arm, and you just drop me to the ground. You do some type of, I don't know what you call it in the MMA world, but now I'm in an arm bar. And I had no idea how it happened. And it pissed me off so much that I called my brother up the next day and was I was madder than hell at him. I was like, you know what I've learned about myself? You beat my ass so much that I had to learn how to play defense. I have no idea how to play offense now. None whatsoever. So I was sitting there in that moment, just froze, man. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah, I think, so my freshman year at Saginaw, I took a judo class.
Okay.
So that's probably where I learned that. Because
makes sense.
When I did MMA, I didn't do any jiu-jitsu or anything really.
Just strike?
Just learned how to box. Because I had a wrestling base. I wrestled for... from 7th to 12th grade.
At Sand Creek?
At Sand Creek,
okay.
Yeah. So I wasn't worried about wrestling or someone taking me down.
You wanted to get better on your feet.
I was I took 2 fights and I told the gym that I was working at, I was like, I'm not doing any more MMA until I learn how to strike. I don't.
Okay.
And I want to be confident in my striking, because just as a man, you just want to be, know how to strike, So
it's one thing for people that think they know how to throw a punch. And then that people that actually do, there's a world of difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of people can just throw a good, powerful punch.
Sure.
Just inherently have good power in their hands.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to use it, it's still a completely different thing. Like,
Okay.
You can have all that power, but if you don't know how to use it.
Yeah, you got to harness it. You got to feel the technique, the angles.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot more to it. You said you fought 2 fights?
I fought 2 fights, and then I met a really good friend of mine, Mike Thompson, and he was a boxer.
Okay.
That didn't know how to wrestle.
Okay.
So we moved in together.
Okay.
And I taught him how to wrestle. He taught me how to box, and then we kind of taught each other how to kick and do Muay Thai, basically.
Now, was this before you were fighting, or this is after you were fighting?
This was like this whole year. I met him in the fall, and
Okay.
we became good friends. And I took some fights, and then I was like, dude, I'm not fighting anymore. And he started teaching me how to box. He was a really good boxer.
Okay.
And probably a better teacher, I would say.
What was your record?
I was 4-1.
Okay.
Yep.
Really?
I lost to Bobby Nash.
Okay.
He ended up fighting 2 times in the UFC. He was an MSU wrestler at the time. And I remember, like, the day of weigh-ins, they're like, all right, you don't really know in amateur MMA who you're fighting. There's not like a UFC build-up or...
Right,
So I found out in the weigh-ins, they're like, oh, yeah, he wrestles at MSU. Oh, great. Like,
deer in headlights, the eyes go up.
cool.
Yeah.
So, we fight, and for the majority of the fight, I would say rounds 2 and 3, he just kind of held me against the fence.
Okay.
I took a lot of pride in that he didn't take me down.
Sure.
He got me down in the first round, and I got back up, and I landed some strikes, but he had just great pressure keeping me against the fence. But
Did you feel when you left that fight that you were, like, dominated, or?
I felt that, I guess, more down that I lost.
Okay.
And I should have won, just because he didn't really he didn't land any strikes really. He didn't
Nothing significant,
didn't
but
get
he
me
had
down.
cage control. He had
And deservedly won the fight because he had control
Sure.
over me. So I was just more mad that he controlled me, and I should have been off the fence. I should have been able to get off the fence, but it's a small cage, man. I mean, if you think about a UFC cage, it's probably, I would say, at least 30 feet across, right? This cage is probably 16 feet.
Oh, man. It's all they can afford, probably.
It'd be like fighting in here if you cut this room in half.
So is that kind of like the atmosphere? Were you in, like, fairgrounds? Where were you fighting? Where were these events
we
at?
were in a hotel.
Oh, man.
Chandelier above us, like people just on the cage.
It's like a quarantine bubble, man.
Oh, man.
You guys, you were ahead of the curve.
Yeah, it was.
So why not pursue an MMA career?
I mean,
if you're 4-1, that's a respectable amateur record.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is, track was my passion.
Okay.
I wanted to get back in school and run again, finish that out.
Okay.
Number 2 was the lifestyle. Like, those amateur fighters, that whole lifestyle, being in those gyms is just all about, like, partying.
Sure.
And just
It's hard
sparring.
it's hard to take your craft serious if you're really trying to get to that next level without surrounding yourself with people that are trying to get to that next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of those guys, they don't take the sport serious like an athlete does.
Sure.
So where I was like trying to find that balance and getting corrupted by like the rest of the people around that were just drinking and partying and just sparring basically. It's like spar, party. And it's me, I looked at it as a sport. I wanted something to do to compete.
Right.
So, people are sparring, I want to spar.
Right.
People are wrestling, let's wrestle.
I get that about you. You're a pretty competitive guy.
Yeah, and that's what it was. I needed something to fill that void.
Okay.
So,
You know what I do? I found poker.
poker?
So I'm 33 now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I still play rec sports as much as I can. I'm a basketball coach. And
Yeah.
coaching is a whole nother mental thing. So, like, now as I get older, I'm trying to find things that transition me from the physical side, which don't get me wrong, I'm still going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can. Yeah. I chose sports as a career for a reason. For those of you who don't know, I'm a PE teacher and an AD because I love it, right?
Yeah.
As I can tell you do too. But like, as you get older, you're still a competitive person. You just don't have any way to scratch that itch.
Yeah.
So coaching does that for me, but poker
Really?
has been the last like probably year or two. Poker has really been something that I found myself doing because you sit at these table with these guys that they might sit down with more money than you or whatnot, but it's you. There's anybody that just says poker is a game of luck. They're right to an extent, but there's so much that you can do to position yourself that I didn't even know existed until I started.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Like I've played a little bit of poker.
Okay.
But I've watched a lot of poker.
Yeah.
And I like to see the mental warfare that they have.
It's funny because I would think, oh, they're just being, aggressive to it'd be their detriment, but there's a reason for all of this, and I've learned all that, and I've been starting to get more and more success as I go.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, as you get older, man, you got to find a way to kind of scratch that competitive itch. So you're only 29. I mean, we're 4 years apart, but you're getting there. So
yeah, definitely. And you know, I when I first, so I took 2 years off.
Okay.
2 years ago, and during that time, it was dark. You know, it was like, what am I going to do? You know, like,
you're lost. You're looking.
Yeah. How do I find that? You know, find that competition again, and like, what do I do moving forward? And for me, it was like, okay, I'll do cooking. You know, I love cooking.
Yeah.
You know, like I took that pretty serious. And
now you were cooking at Sauce, or was it Hooligans?
I started at Hooligans.
Hooligans, yeah.
In college.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was I just knew.
Wasn't for you.
Yeah, I accepted a job at a really nice restaurant, or I did a stage there. So
okay.
if you don't know, a stage is basically just like a tryout to see if you want to go work at a place in a restaurant. And so I went there. It was like, you know, top 5 restaurants in the country.
He was in Chicago. Yeah. I mean,
it has been ranked by San Pellegrino as the #1 restaurant in the world.
Really?
And
you were a stage there.
And they offered me the job. And
really?
I remember just like coming back home, you know, I drove out there and I come back home and I'm just like, man, like, is this what I want to do? Like, because if I take this job, this is my career.
Yeah.
You know, this is a career job. This is starting $60K and, you know, move up to potentially like $80K in a restaurant. And it's like, eventually I started thinking like, that's it. No more track. Like, I can't go back to it. You know, I can't, do anything else.
If you're a chef at something that's got the moniker of the #1 restaurant in the world, you eventually can open up your own restaurant. Right. It says head chef Kelvin Sullins. People come there, pay high top dollar for menu. You know what I mean?
And that's the whole point of the restaurant.
Yeah.
There's people all over the country there.
For sure.
Because they'll do that. And they'll work for free sometimes.
Okay.
Or they'll work for minimum wage just to have that experience to work under a chef like that.
Really?
So
that's interesting. So let's get back on track then. Yeah. So you decide you're not going to be stage, as you call it, or you're not going to continue on as a cook. When do you find yourself coming back to do your last couple of years of eligibility, or was that after the fact that you already did your first 3 years or your 3 years of eligibility?
So
athletically,
I mean, so I came back. Obviously I went out west and I went down to Missouri. And when I came back, it was when I had said, I'm done with track and field. My body's beat up. Mentally, I'm burnt out.
Sure.
And I was like, that's it. Moving on. Took that stage in Chicago. Came back, and that was kind of like one of the moments where I was like, all right, I don't want to do this. Like, I kind of want to get back in track and field. And I kind of just made all these BS excuses to everyone, like, oh yeah, I'd have to miss my brother's wedding. It'd be too much. Like, I don't think I can make it work. I don't have enough of a nest. And really, what it was deep down, I wanted to compete again.
Sure.
And I knew that I had some gas left in the tank, and it ended up being like a long evolving process for me to get back into it. But that was kind of the starting point of me getting back into the sport.
So let's stop there. We'll go to break.
Okay.
We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into the details, and I'm going to ask you a specific question, but it doesn't matter because it looks like we stopped recording. We'll finish this up for the podcast. I want to ask you specifically the credibility of this interview right now. People are going to wonder: is this guy legit? Is he somebody who's actually close to qualifying for the Olympics, or is Robert just reaching out to friends trying to see if he can fill people on the show? We'll answer that on the other side of the break, and we'll get into specifics. Is that cool?
Sounds good.
Cool. Hey, welcome everybody back to Bobby Talks, ... You know the dots, you know why they're there. I'm sitting here with Kelvin Sullins. Now, to end the first half of the show, I was getting ready to ask a question that was going to tease into the second half of the show, but we did not get there because the camera stopped recording, as always. Anyways, I was getting ready to ask him about the credibility of this interview. Now, what I mean by that is I was asking you about how close you actually are to qualifying for the Olympics. And the reason I wanted to ask that question is because I think that will go a long ways in people, obviously the credibility of the show, but hopefully we're going to plug your YouTube channel here in just a little bit. But before you answer all that, we're going to go back to where we were.
All right.
We are now sitting at how old are you when you decide to go back to college? When you left Saginaw, you went where when you decided to go back?
Okay, so after I left Saginaw, I took the year off, did the MMA.
Yep.
And then I went to Siena.
Okay.
So I took a whole year. That indoor season would have been, I had this epiphany, and I was like, I can't keep doing this fighting stuff, and like, so I went to an indoor meet, and I did some events I had never done before.
The triple jump?
I did long jump.
Okay.
I did long jump once in high school, but like, never, like, no one had any results.
Sure.
So I did long jump. I did a hurdle race, and I think I did like a 200.
Okay.
Yeah, I did 200. And so the coach that actually recruited me to Saginaw, he left my first like 2 weeks at Saginaw. And he went to Siena, Kirk Richards.
Nice.
So he's at Siena.
So you have a familiar face.
And I'm competing unattached at this meet, and he sees me, and he goes and grabs Bauer, and we kind of like talk at the meet, and like, hey, you remember him? He's like, oh yeah, and we're talking, and he's like, what are you trying to do? And I was like, man, I'm just trying to get back into school. And they're like,
so let me stop you there real quick. You can compete in indoor track unattached.
You can just indoor, outdoor. There's all. I mean, it depends on the meet, but most meets, you can compete
as just an individual. You can just
like
go.
You could do it.
Really?
You pay $20. You do as many events as you want.
Interesting.
Anyone can do it.
I did not know that.
That's what's really cool about track and field. And like a lot of sports like wrestling, it's kind of like your career is over if you don't get on a college wrestling team.
Sure.
Or you just go to jiu-jitsu.
Right.
But like track and field, you can do all the way up to your 90.
So right now, I could pay money and go and compete in these
100%.
things. If I was pursuing the Olympics.
And you'd probably beat some kids. Because
that is interesting.
Anyone can do track and field.
Okay.
Unattached.
Okay.
And obviously there's meets where it's like, collegiate invitational.
Sure.
You can't go and do, or you have to have a good time or something. But
right.
The majority of meets you can go and do unattached. You just pay $20, do as many events as you want. And
you just blew my mind. I did not know that. That's awesome.
That's what's really cool. So I did that.
Okay.
I did a bunch of events, and they were like, they saw me. I had a good long jump. I went like 22 feet.
Wow.
Never really jumped before. Just kind of
just
went out there. I was like, oh, this looks like a good mark. Like way over the board. I was like, okay, I moved back like 4 feet on the board. Cool, let's jump.
And it was 22 feet.
It was 22 feet.
I got to tell you, as somebody who spent his entire high school career long jumping and only got to the 21 feet 4-inch mark, that really bothers me. But go ahead.
I mean, so yeah, it was like, it went really well. And like, he was like, well, I remember Bar was like, well, what do you want your major to be? And I was like,
oh yeah, I forgot at school.
Do you guys have sport management? And he's like, yeah, we do. We have a great program. I was like, cool. Like,
awesome.
I didn't know what the heck sport management was.
No, you just something that you heard before.
I'd heard that term, and he said he had the program. And if he would have said they didn't have it, I would have been like, well, what about business? And I would have did that.
Yeah, and he would have said, yeah, we got a great business program.
Yeah. So,
he would have said anything.
Yeah, it could have been anything. So that's what I decided, I guess, at the moment, and that's what I ended up doing. So did the whole recruiting process. They ended up giving me their full ride, whatever.
Sure, the best that they can.
The best that they can give in NAI. And then, so I did 3 years at Siena.
So this would have been around 2011, 12, and 13?
My first, I guess 2010. Yeah, 2011 would have been my first year at Siena. 11, because my last outdoor season was 2014.
Okay, interesting. And then you are 28 credits away.
I leave Siena under very bad circumstances.
Okay.
Yep. I get into an altercation with the golf coach. I don't know if I should say that, but I ended up making amends with him.
Okay.
But yeah, I just was young and dumb, and me growing up, I would say I had very little respect or I didn't respect any older male figures. I had, growing up without a dad, I think that just kind of is inherent. You just kind of like, the one guy that's supposed to be there for you wasn't, and so you kind of just.
I know that story all too well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean being an AD, you probably see that a lot. And
I grew up without my own father. Yeah.
So
But I had my grandfather every day of my life, so he is my father. So I can't say that I share the same. I don't want to use the. Forgive me, but the only word that's coming to my head is like bitterness towards it. But I do understand the idea of still, I would spend every night in my house. I wouldn't spend the night at my grandparents' house except for on the weekends. So there still is 5 days a week where, you don't have that male figure in your life. So I can understand, your the grit that forms on you.
Yeah, and it's a lot of that is kind of mended by older coaches and male teachers. There's a lot of great guys in Sand Creek that I can give credit to, and Mark Carlton, Mark
Yep.
Spicer,
Sure.
two very influential guys that that helped mold some responsibility and hard work into me.
Yeah.
And just encouragement, really. Sometimes that's all is you really need is just a little encouragement. And so those, I still had a lot of growing up to do it. And so my whole college career, I guess I was just only staying out of trouble enough to compete.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why, for anybody that's listening that is a parent, that is why sports are so crucial
Very.
to somebody that is, whether it's sports, anything extracurricular, do something.
Yeah.
But to just let your kid just sit at home, do nothing, that is not the ideal way, because there's so many things that can come from it. But in your case, you were able to maybe, let's say, ride the line a little bit on behavior, but do so just enough to...
Yeah, maybe not necessarily for the right reasons.
Right.
But
it still did, yeah.
But it worked out, and
Sure.
I ended up finding the right path, so.
So you have an altercation with the golf coach, you make amends, but that was 6 years ago.
I didn't make amends for a while, though. I should say that. I left.
That's not how it works.
I left bitter.
Yep.
I left resentful at Siena. I left resentful at the schooling system.
Sure.
When I never took responsibility for anything is what it came.
No
down to.
accountability on your part. You were only blaming, and I'm sure there's a story there which we don't need to know. But so you do leave there though, and now you find yourself kind of bouncing from job to job, state to state.
Yeah. Well, I planned on. I talked with one of my best friends from Saginaw.
Okay.
About going down to Missouri, and now that I was in this pickle and in trouble, they're like, you got to meet with the dean and to get reinstated and this night. I was like, you know what, forget you guys. I'm going to go to Missouri. I'm going to train for 2016 for the Olympics.
For the Olympics.
Yeah.
So at this point, it's 2014, 2015. And where is the decathlon at? Is it even in your head yet?
Yeah. So for my 3 years at Siena, I did the decathlon.
Okay.
Kirk, my coach
really?
that recruited me.
Okay.
He was the decathlete coach. And so I think he kind of wanted me to at Saginaw, but obviously he left.
Sure.
So we were just in conditioning. And so when I get to Siena, my buddy Ty, who was a decathlete, we had talked about it and already started this little rivalry. And
which is good.
I was like, dude, I'm going to beat you in that first meet at heptathlon, and one of my very best friends to this day. So I go to Siena, I do the indoor heptathlon, outdoor decathlon.
Okay.
I'm there for 3 years with, Kirk Richards being my coach, Tim Bauer, my head coach at Siena. So I leave, I go down to Missouri with my buddy Ty, not really knowing anything at all.
Yeah.
Just kind of packed my bags and was just like, all
just
right,
on a whim.
he's there. He says it's a good group. It's a good place to be. So that's what I'm going to do. Turns out the coach there is Kip Jandren, one of the most decorated American decathletes of all time. Probably, he's got the U.S. record for most decathlons completed. He's got the most decathlons over 8,000 points as an American.
Wow.
Just really decorated. I talked about him in 96, and then in 2000 makes the Olympic team at 35, oldest American, probably oldest man to ever make the Olympics for the decathlon.
Really?
I doubt anyone.
And he's the Missouri head coach,
He's
track
the,
coach, or just the decathlon?
Central Missouri co-head coach.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
Him and his good friend Kirk Peterson were basically Kirk does distance and stuff, and he heads up all the sprint and power events. I got a throws coach, so Central Missouri, it's a D2 school. I'm down there for a year, and I have just this breakout year. I have this great finishing end to my season. I have a decathlon in Texas where I have 7 PRs in a single decathlon.
Wow.
So all-time PRs within a decathlon, which never happens.
So it's you're learning and making adjustments quicker now, and everything's just starting to come together.
And Kip's just this guru, just calm guru that he's one of the guys that you'll jump and long jump and he'll look at it and he'll be 643.
He knows.
You'll measure it and it's 643.
He's kind of like the track whisperer.
He is.
Yeah.
And so just this sage wisdom from this, he's older at the time, he'll jump in on a workout and whoop everyone's ass. Still.
Wow.
Fat, out of shape, just has it. Just has that mentality. Just can jump in and do it.
The muscles know, The muscles know.
Yeah.
So you're starting to find some PRs. You're starting to find some momentum. 1 year at Central Missouri, though, right?
1 year, yep.
What happens? Again, you've now went 1 year at Saginaw, 3 at Siena. Most people, that's their 4-year college run and they're done.
Right.
You have then, you have now went to Central Missouri. That was your 5th year.
Didn't compete. Was on a post-collegiate training team.
That's where I'm starting to try to find, okay,
Yep.
so now you didn't compete, but you're at, okay, but
So
you're
I
competing,
had-
but without
yeah,
competing.
Unattached.
Unattached.
We talked about, like, so that's how we do it as post-collegiates.
Yes.
So we had me.
So you're not attending classes?
Nope.
Not attending classes. So what are you doing in your daytime? You're working. Okay.
Working, cooking.
You're still doing the cooking thing.
Cooking, yep.
Okay.
Worked at McDonald's for a little bit. Cut
Okay.
some hair.
Yeah.
Side hustling. Doing what I can do.
Hey man, make that cash. Yeah.
Yep. I was $10 a cut. Come on down. Cal's Cuts. It was, do whatever you can to survive
Make a
and
dollar.
train. And try to take a load off yourself. So
Sure.
for what I ended up finding is serving was the best thing that I could do.
Okay.
Because I could drive to Kansas City an hour, serve for 3 days a week, and make $600. And it's similar to like St. Creek, where I'm paying $300 for rent and utilities. So.
Yeah, and you're set for the month now, and
Good.
so everything else is just bonus.
So now I can just train hard.
Yeah.
You know, I can serve 3 days a week and train hard all week, and just go hard Thursday, Friday, Saturday at a restaurant.
Okay.
And it's it's not like physically demanding to be a server. And I know food well.
And you're a charismatic guy in the sense of like you're sociable, you're talking, people like to give you money because they think you did a good job.
Right, just be nice. And,
Yeah.
It's like it was perfect setup for me.
Sure.
So worked out really well.
So you did that for 1 year though. What's next?
So I had this great meet, and I got one last chance to try to make the U.S. national.
So we are trying to we're trying to qualify for the decathlon for the 2016 event or
15.
Olympics.
So every year there's a national championship.
2015. Okay.
Yep. So 2015, I was trying to make the U.S. championships in I think it was Sacramento that year.
Okay.
And so I get a last chance invite out to Santa Barbara.
Okay.
And I'm like, I raised some money on GoFundMe.
GoFundMe.
Yeah, I think it was GoFundMe.
I can kind of sort of remember you doing this, but yeah. Go
I
ahead.
think it was GoFundMe. Yeah, and ended up getting enough money to fund my trip out there and go do a last chance to try to make the U.S. Team or the U.S. National Championships. And I go out there and it's just like, oh my God, this is what I dreamed of.
Yeah.
And there's this, Santa Barbara Track Club, and it's only decathletes and heptathletes.
Really?
What the heck? Like, why am I not out here? Like, and then, and before I go out there, I announce on Facebook, this guy who I used to personal train in Lansing boxing.
Yeah.
Turns out he just moved out there, and he has a house there.
Okay.
And so he's like, I'll be out of town on a business meeting. I'll leave the key under the mat.
You can
Just stay at my house while you're doing the meet, and like I'll leave groceries, and it's like
Live like a king for a few days. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it all works out really well, and like the meet doesn't go well. I just kind of just had too many competitions and kind of just beating a dead horse basically.
Okay.
And so, but I discovered this track club, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And a girl out there, actually that I knew, she went to UCM. Now she's on the team.
Okay.
So I have a connection out there. She tells me all about the club. Everyone's got these like cool little houses where they're like splitting with 9 different people and stuff.
And you just saw your life where you wanted it to be, where you wanted to be.
It was like thinking like back to when I was like, 16, 17, like I want to be out in California, I want to get out of here, like that's the dream, right?
Yep.
I'm on on this club, and it's like,
See, to me, right now, up until that point, it sounds like the story of you is still looking for location. You're taking your craft very serious, and I'm blown away by the names and the details that you're giving me. But you say the competition doesn't go well.
right, it wasn't like terrible, but like my body was beat down from the season.
Okay.
So
Now, there's something else to learn there about how to train correctly and give enough rest correctly before those types of events.
And some people can do it. Like if it would maybe been earlier in the season, I maybe could have had another big meet. But like the decathlon, man, you really got to rest.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, your body just needs it. Some people, like my buddy Ty in 2018, did like 5 decathlons and got qualified for the U.S. meet, but gets there and is just completely beat down and can't do anything.
And yeah, and adrenaline can only do so much.
Oh yeah.
And because in those things, you need to kind of keep yourself even keel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so now you're living out in California. You're on these clubs.
Yeah, I go out there and I'm living with this guy for free basically. He's just loaded and just really great guy, and an ex-athlete himself. Did triathlons, was an Ironman guy.
Oh wow!
Actually carried an Olympic torch. Like
awesome.
Like, yeah, cool guy I met in Lansing.
Only a handful will get to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm out there living the dream, and then I go through a year there, and just me and the coach just didn't connect. It wasn't like me and Kip where like he understood me really well, and maybe just his training model just didn't work for my body.
It's not every size fits all type thing. I totally understand.
And that's just something that I've been learning as a coach. It's like it doesn't have to be like individualized for every athlete, but like that specific program worked well for a lot of the women.
Yeah.
Not so much for me or some of the men.
Okay.
But, still they do really great things out there, and their coach is super dedicated, and he's doing really great things for the sport. But for me personally, it didn't work out well.
See, and as a coach myself, I would, I'm not going to attack this guy. I don't know the guy, but I do believe the philosophy of, it's one thing to have a set of plays, but if your set of plays is not designed by the personnel that you have to figure out something else. And if you are stubborn to the set of like, I've been doing it my way for X amount of years and it's always been successful, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's a quick trip to failure because you're not going to have the right personnel for what it is you're trying to do.
Right.
So you have to be flexible as a coach. So you're learning that. And
Yeah. He was flexible in some senses, but in some things
he wasn't.
It was just kind of like, that's not, how my body. So basically, let's just say, put it this way, like they were very aerobic based.
Okay.
They did a lot of like training for the 1500 and conditioning in the beginning of the season. And me, I'm like a cat, man. Like
Yeah.
You take me on a long run and I'm done. You do anything aerobic and it's just like my body doesn't handle it well.
Right.
But, something short and powerful, like that's what I'm all about. So
okay.
I do well in shot put. I do well in
Gotcha.
high jump, jumping and throwing.
Intermediate like spurts of power.
Right.
Yep. Gotcha.
That 3 to 5 second like
sure.
power engine. So it just it was like I had this vision of what it was going to be. It was going to be perfect. I can be outside all year. I can be on the track all year. And it was kind of just like.
That's kind of California in a nutshell.
Yeah.
It's like I loved my time in California. The sky that's always blue. The sun is always out, And I also remember like I'm living there. I'm doing the TV, film, and radio thing. I'm working for E! Entertainment Television. The traffic sucks. Mm-hmm. And also the people kind of do. Studio apartment with 5 others. I'm literally sleeping in a walk-in closet. I have a rollout cot in a closet. Yeah. Just trying to make it work. Loving every minute of it, but at the same time kind of telling myself that I'm loving it versus actually loving it. Right. And I think a lot of that had to do with the people at the time but bottom line is that that's California in a nutshell. That's the Hollywood of it, right?
Right.
It's all lights and glamour until you get there and see how it's made, and then you're like, oh, there's another side to it.
LA, man, I hated LA.
LA, that's where I was at.
Yeah, and so I'd go to there a couple times, mostly just to go to like go to the playground, not Muscle Beach, but
Venice Beach.
Venice, yeah, Venice, with the rings and stuff.
The outside,
I loved that.
It's cool, yeah.
But there was some things that I did love. I actually did like. I bought a van. I lived in a van for a summer. I learned how to spearfish.
Okay.
And I to this day that's like my pleasurable like activity. Like if I'm going to indulge in hedonism, it's going to be spearfishing.
Spearfishing.
Yeah. In the ocean, like it's my meditation. It's like I just feel so comfortable in the water. Like,
you still meditate?
Yeah.
What do you find the benefits of that to be?
Just calming your mind.
Okay. Are you a high-strung person? Always have overthinking or?
Just ADD. Okay. Just like always. Typically in the day, I'm just thinking about so many different things. Like, okay, I got the vlog. I got school. I got this coming up. I got my girlfriend. I got work.
The balance.
What do I focus on? And meditation kind of just like calms down. It's like, okay, what's the big picture? Just relax. Like, it's gonna be okay, and just gives you that just that good start to the day. Like, so I like to start my day with just no technology.
Okay, so you're not the wake up, check your phone person.
Okay. I'll check it to see if I have an email or something.
Yeah.
But I just like to be calm. I don't want to watch TV. Maybe I'll listen to some music.
Okay.
You know, just get my day started very,
Ease into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
That's interesting. So, okay, that's interesting to me because I would have thought the opposite, right? I would have thought that like you'd wake up, you're just like, because you're intensely training and you do it in power spurts, but like anytime you, and I don't know how the training regimen is for a decathlete, but it sounds like you're kind of going to get to that. When is the qualifying opportunity?
So the window, they made a window for like an extra window for COVID. So like you could qualify right now, but
okay.
No one's hosting.
Nobody's hosting.
Yeah. There's only been one guy to do a decathlon in America this year.
Really?
And he did it solo, and it's not official.
Okay. So because it's not official because nobody was hosting, that wouldn't count.
He just did it to do it.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
Which I will be doing in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I'll be doing a solo decathlon.
Okay. All right. Let's get into that then. So you are now present day. You're at Siena Heights. You are finishing up, finally, no longer unattached. He is attached.
I'm attached.
He is committed man to his last year of eligibility. He's going to finish up that business or that /sports management degree, get his credits done, and he'll be done whether or not he pursues anything in that or not. We hope not, because we hope he's going to be utilizing his time as a decathlete and hopefully representing our country in the 2021 Tokyo Games. So you have a 2-week window here where you're going to be doing a decathlon. You're going to be doing it in solo by yourself.
Yeah.
I asked you earlier, how credible are you and how close are you to actually becoming a qualified candidate for the Olympic team? Where are you at within that window? What is it? What's your best PR score versus where you need to be?
Okay.
And then versus where the standard is.
So I would say, I appreciate you asking this because like this is something that I have to explain to people a lot.
Sure, please do. If I'm ignorant right now, teach me.
No. Yep. Like most people won't ask me that. They're just kind of like, oh, that's so cool, like Olympics.
Sure.
It's just like there's so much that goes into it, and there's so many little things that people don't realize. And so me personally, it's like I was told my freshman year, someone was like, reach for the stars, and if you land on the moon,
right,
you're on the moon.
You're on the moon.
So that's kind of my view on the Olympics, right? Like, I think personally I have the ability. I could get there.
Okay.
There's so many intangibles and things that I don't have control over. Only thing I can control is like getting better, learning, and just focusing on what I can control.
Okay.
My goal has always been to make a U.S. team, and so for the decathlon, there's 3 options.
Okay.
Option 1 is the Olympics. Option 2 is the Thorpe Cup, which is U.S. versus Germany.
Okay.
And option 3 is the Pan American Games or Cup.
Okay.
Which is just North and South America competes. And it alternates whether it's the games or the Pan Am Cups. So those are the 3 options. So basically it's the top 10 you have the option for Thorpe and Pan American, and then the top 3 go to the Olympics.
Okay.
So for me, making a U.S. team is very important. Like being able to represent my country and be in that position is, the most plausible for me, for my score. And obviously I took a big break.
Yeah.
So as far as like where I'm at and making an Olympic team, it's like, you'd be like, if someone looked at it from the outside or a decathlete,
sure,
they'd be like, how?
Yeah.
Like he scored 73. You have to score at least 83 to make the Olympic team. But to make a Thorpe Cup team or to make a Pan American team,
those numbers are different.
Those are different, right?
Yes.
It's just being in the top 12, basically.
And see, you just educated me on something because I didn't even realize that that there was anything other than the Olympics.
So in other events, there's other opportunities. There's like U.S.A versus the world. There's world relays. So depending on your event, there's no Thorpe Cup for anybody else. It's just decathletes.
Just the decathletes.
So that's something separate. That's really cool and special.
Yeah.
It's something that I really would like to make is a Thorpe Cup team, and named after Jim Thorpe, a Native American.
Sure.
I'm Native American.
Yeah.
And something I also didn't know until I was 29. I took a DNA test.
Really?
So I think that would be super cool to represent America as a Native American in the Jim Thorpe Cup.
Okay.
So that's kind of my goal.
So, dude, I love that analogy, and I'm going to use that and take that with everything I do from now on, because you said shoot for the stars, but if you land on the moon, you're on the freaking moon.
You're on the freaking moon.
Dude, I that is a great way of looking at it, because it's like, okay, the Olympic Games is the end all be all. I get that. But if you end up in the Jim Thorpe Cup, the Thorpe Cup, it's like you're in the freaking Jim Thorpe Cup, right?
Representing my country, wearing USA on my chest.
Sure.
Competing with my brothers against Germany.
Kelvin, I would say, in my opinion, man, that would be a huge success.
Yeah, I think that would be, the best way to cap off my career.
Sure.
Is to end up like that. So it does. Not all my heart is invested in that, and not all my meaning. My life isn't predicated on doing that.
Yeah.
It's much bigger than that, but that would be so cool. It's like the end all. The icing on the cake, I guess.
Yeah.
So. One of the big reasons why I work hard, but not my why into what I do.
And I think, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm just going off of what I've been hearing from you, that self-discovery with you is huge, and it should be with everybody. But just the idea of constantly being aware that you're learning and trying to find new avenues in life and find out who you are and what. I mean, you lived in a freaking van for a summer. Was it in LA?
No, Santa Barbara.
Still, it was in California.
Uh-huh.
It's hot.
Santa Barbara is a weird thing. It's like a weird bubble, right?
Okay.
So Santa Barbara is like Mediterranean climate.
Okay.
So
okay.
It never gets higher than 80, and it never gets colder than 60.
That sounds like Hollywood to me.
It's unbelievable. It doesn't seem real at times. How is it so perfect
sure.
here?
I'll have to look that up. And
so at nighttime, you get that cool ocean breeze.
Which is exactly what you want.
Yeah, you don't need a solar panel to get AC and stuff, because at night it's cool, and in the day, I'm either out spearfishing or
you're doing something completely different. You're not in your van during the day. Yeah, dude, no, that's interesting. Well, before we go, man, you have a vlog, and I wish I would have left us more time to talk about this, but you go to YouTube, Kelvin Sullins. You're constantly vlogging about your training. You're constantly updating us. Tell me about your vlog. What you got going on there?
Yeah, so basically it's just a way for me to go back and look and maybe show my kids one day, and
sure.
kind of how my training is, and have footage of what I was doing and how I was evolving. And so a big one that I'll be doing in a couple weeks is a memoriam decathlon. In memory of Bob Hinsdale.
Okay,
I'm sure you're aware of.
Yep.
Who's such
great man, phenomenal man.
Great man, and I could talk for hours about him and how important having guys like that in my life is.
Sure. Yeah.
So he was probably my biggest supporter in track and field, and the track is named after him at Sand Creek.
Yep.
And he passed away in the spring, and right before he passed away, I was talking to my girlfriend about joining the Navy, and a week later, my mom sends me the obituary, and it's served in World War II in the Navy.
Yep.
I was like, okay, maybe that's a sign. I think this might be the right move. And so, I will be joining the Navy next year. So after all, Thorpe Cup and everything, hopefully, that's my plan, to go to boot camp in the fall. And so this meet is going to be in memory of him. My goal is I'll probably be making a vlog within the next couple of days, announcing, what the decathlon's about. But my hope is to, have a pledge system, and if you say I finish it, you pledge $10. Say I get a PR, you pledge $5.
Yeah.
And so, and then using that money to do a scholarship for someone who's interested in the decathlon or heptathlon at Sand Creek.
Okay.
To bring awareness to the sport, to honor, Bob Hinsdale.
Dude,
and
I love it.
Just kind of I'm not in good shape right now. I haven't been training, obviously, but
don't care.
Just gonna do it, and hopefully bring some eyes on the sport, and hopefully inspire someone to maybe do the decathlon one day. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've inspired me. You've educated me on a lot of things. It's interesting. We're an hour in, and I actually haven't felt this way since I've started these shows. It's episode 9. I feel like I could talk to you for another hour. You've thrown so many caveats at me. But what I do, man, is I wish you nothing but the best, nothing but love. I hope in 2 weeks' time you hit whatever it is you're trying to hit, the number, whether it's the journey, whether it's the outcome, whatever it is. Shoot for the stars, land on the moon. I love it. Kelvin Sullins, ladies and gentlemen, go to YouTube, check him out. I appreciate you being here, buddy.
Thanks, man. Really appreciate it.
Peace.